tushereke pamoja ushindi kwa ukombozi wetu. Tujitoe wenyewe, tusimame pamoja kulinda uhuru na umoja wetu. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote, tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote na tujibidishe kutoa kilicho bora kwa Afrika. Chimbuko la wanadamu, chemchemi ya utamaduni, tumaini letu wakati wa mafarakano. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima.
Most welcome to Humans TV Africa. This is Humans TV Africa and your host, Kato Mukasa. This is Kato and the gang. The gang is right in the studio. And today here at Humans TV Africa, we want to encourage you to please subscribe to Humans TV Africa by subscribing. The info is right there. It is at Humans TV Africa. Please Google us. Go to Google search engine, put in Humans TV Africa. You will see us, and please put that subscription there. We want those numbers. We want to reach out to you. So far, we have over 400 well-made shows waiting for you to watch. Please subscribe. We also want to encourage you to please write to us. Our email is info@humanstvafrica.com, and our WhatsApp number is right there. Our information officer, because our spokesperson, Brian Kabeko, will be able to respond to you promptly, and then you'll be able to join the winning team. We are a Humans TV, and we are global in nature, and we are a registered NGO, currently with studios in Uganda, Kenya, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, UK, and the US. And we are continuing to grow day by day, from strength to strength. So we are calling for people to work with us. If you want to work with us, you want to volunteer with us, you want to be a news anchor, you want to be a news reporter, you want to be a street interview coordinator in your country, you are most welcome. This is Humans TV Africa. We are here to empower each other, support each other, build each other, and of course our role is to empower, educate, entertain, inform, motivate. That is why we are here, and of course we are here to promote critical thinking and change the narrative much so about Africa. Having said that, today is Kato and the gang, and they focus on Sierra Leone and Nigeria. Briefly, I'll give you a few stats about these two countries. Sierra Leone, of course, all of us know, the country right there in West Africa, so close to Ghana, and of course the other countries right there. Because we know that Sierra Leone has a small population, about 8 million people. Interestingly, out of the 8 million people in Sierra Leone, 80% of those people are below 35 years of age. What does it mean? These are youthful people. These are young people. You can imagine you have a country of 8 million people, but 80% of them are below 35 years. What does it mean? Over 6.7 million people, almost 7 million people in Sierra Leone are young people. Now, what makes matters worse is that unemployment among youthful people is 70%. Think about it. You can go and research it more. 70% of the people that are youthful in Sierra Leone are unemployed. Now, that's a disaster. How do you have a young generation without jobs in a small country with a small population? And mark you, Sierra Leone is one of the most richest countries in the world. I'll repeat it for you. Sierra Leone is one of the most richest countries in the world by resources. When they call Africa poor, they are telling a lie. They don't look at our resources. They look at buildings, they look at other things, money in the pockets of the people, GDP, and they say the country is poor. They forget that they get these resources, siphon them, milk them from Africa, and take them to these countries to make these countries have better economies. Now, when I say Africa is not poor, I look at the resource base of Africa. Sierra Leone has gold, Sierra Leone has diamonds, and has all these other minerals with only 8 million people. But Sierra Leone has faced so much instabilities that crime rate is increasing, that the regime there is killing people on the streets, that teenager pregnancy is on the high levels ever in Sierra Leone. Let's look at Nigeria, for example. A very big country, one of the biggest countries in Africa. Nigeria is endowed with a large population, over 231 million people. And surprisingly, more than a half of the people of Nigeria are below the poverty line. They can't earn $1 a day. And surprisingly, again in Nigeria, unemployment claims for 56% of the population, which is, from the recent stats from the IMF, about 133 million people in Nigeria are unemployed and therefore under living below the poverty line. Someone is going to say 23 million people are graduate unemployment, but there are guys who haven't gone to school, but they're also unemployed. So graduate unemployment may be about 23 million people. They have degrees, they have diplomas without jobs in Nigeria. But the level of poverty accounts for 133 million people are poor, living below the poverty line. Are they working? Is the question. Are they under disguised employment? Is the question. Because why are they poor? It means they are not earning. Leave alone the graduates, who are 23 million graduates in Nigeria without jobs. And we hear of the Yao boys, the crime rate, and all this kind of thing. But mark you, Nigeria is one of the resource wealth nations in the world. Nigeria is one of the resource wealth nations in the world. Nigeria is richer than the UK. Nigeria is richer than most of the countries in Europe in terms of resources. Check it again. Ask yourself, what does UK have? Ask yourself, what do these other countries in Europe have? In terms of resources they can put on world market. Resources, nature given resources. Nigeria has all these nature given resources, including oil. Look at the ranking of oil in the world. Oil producing countries in the world. Leave the Middle East, go to Africa. Nigeria ranks among the top 5 producers of oil in Africa and the top 5 suppliers of oil for international market. Now, if a country has oil and Nigeria has all these minerals we're going to be seeing later on, why is Nigeria considered as a struggling economy when it must be a giant economy? Now, today, we're discussing this. I've just given you a snapshot of what's happening in Nigeria. And of course, my panelists are going to be able to dig deeper into this. I've just made a discussion of the two countries in terms of a brief introduction of what's happening in these two countries. Welcome on board, of course, is Nandip Bongfa, the Talok guy who protects all the cultures of the Talok people. Right in the studio, that is Nandip, the man and the culture. And of course, we have Nana Kufo, the guy who shares the name with the president of Sierra Leone. Welcome, guys. And this is Manas TV Africa. And over to you now. The floor is open. I will start it with Nandip. Sir Bongfa. Nandip.
Thank you so much, Comrade Kato, for the intro. I really appreciate this very, very intro. My name is Nandip Andrew Bongfa. Bongfa is my grandfather's name, and Andrew is my father's name, but that is not his name. His name is Bongwap. 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 Bongwap means that is after death. After death. My is Nandip. That is buried. God has buried. God has buried. Now, let's look at the topic of today. Focus on Sierra Leone and Africa. That is analysis of economy and the politics in Sierra Leone and Nigeria. So I will be talking about Nigeria. Let me take us back to history. Before 1914, before the coming of the colonialism, that is the Europeans into Africa, Nigeria have never had a name. The name given to Nigeria is by a white woman called Fedrosha, which is Lugard's girlfriend. She is the one that named this country Nigeria. So that is what it means is Niger area. Niger area. That means the confluence between the River Benue and the River Niger that went down to the Atlantic Ocean. So she gave that name Niger area, which is called Nigeria. At that particular point in time, there is this company that exists in those days. Now, before the economy of Nigeria, we have what is called the Northern and the Southern Protectorate, because we have never had a name called Nigeria before. Before the discovery of the oil in Nigeria, the Northern Protectorate, they are best in agriculture. As Comrade Kato rightly said, Nigeria is full of natural mineral resources. In terms of agriculture, the land is very, very good. It initially started with agriculture, of which in the south, they cultivated cocoa, tame and columbine, timber for export. And in the north, there is this granite pyramid, of which they use it when the oil is discovered. And they use the resources from the north and then fuel the oil from the south. When the oil come up, and then we get our independence in 1960. And then the issue of agriculture started diminishing when the oil money started booming, and people started become lazy in going to farm or rearing animals and cattle to cultivate land for the supplies of food for the large population. There are actually over 250 million people in Nigeria. So you see, our population is growing, but our economy resources depend solely on fuel, that is oil. Why? Because the cheap money that is coming from the sale of crude oil, many people decided to abandon agriculture, of which without agriculture, without food, without animal rearing, without fish rearing, without crop production, a country is not going to survive. There will be chaos. We cannot drink oil, we cannot drink fuel. Although it contributed in our GDP, that is gross domestic product, which earns us a lot of incomes. And many of the youth now, as you can see, they believe that working in the government parastatals is more important than going to farm, rallying animals to cultivate crops for the population to feed on. With this, not only oil, that is the mineral that is in Nigeria, we have tin and columbite in the middle belt, that is Plateau State, where I come from. In the early days, a lot of mines have been, excavated and shipped, transported through rail to the Atlantic Ocean and taken to the Europe. If you go to Jos, that is Plateau State, where I come from now, you will see a lot of ditch where those mines are being excavated. The same thing with the Kogi State, the same thing most of the states in the middle belt, because Nigeria is full of mineral resources. Just name any mineral resources, you will just get them in abundance. The government, they are so lazy, they are inconsequential, they just believe in fuel. In a recent statistic research now, we are told in 40 years to come, the fuel that we have, it will dry off. So, what are we going to do? If we have already abandoned agriculture, which is our mainstay here in Africa, in Nigeria, which you have already abandoned the other sources that we have, we just based on fuel, that is oil for export. How are we going to survive in the next 40 years to come? At that time, maybe I'm not even alive. So the government of the day, they are so selfish, they don't care, but they want to have what? Those money that is coming from the sale of minerals, that is the sale of fuel to the international market. That is not helping us. As Comrade Kato rightly say, the lack of employment level in this country is so huge. We have over 100 unemployed youth. Every year, over 1 million people graduate from colleges and higher institutions every year. Now, these youth, they are looking for white collar job. They don't think about agriculture. They don't think about going to farm. They don't think about other minor jobs like building, construction, timber, and other things. But they are looking for white collar job. That is, stay in the office and get free money. No, it doesn't work like that. Initially, I myself, I never studied science before. During my secondary school time, I'm an art student. Until when I finish from my secondary school time, I go to the university. I have to change from art to science. I have to start from afresh before I decide to be admitted into the science classes. That's where I studied agriculture. I started with agricultural technology. That is the basis before move to agricultural extension and management. Now, I'm a proud agriculturalist because everything that you need in Nigeria, you have it through farming. Not only maybe you go to the farm and cultivate. Farming includes a lot of things.
Nandip, I'm going to stop you there.
Yes. I've not even said anything, just an introduction.
You will come back later. Let us have Mambu.
Oh, Mambu is here.
On board.
Mambu, you're welcome. I've not even said
Mambu.
anything yet.
It's your time.
I am I don't think I will go down today.
Nandip, may you please mute yourself? Mambo, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Senior Comrade Kato. Once more, my name is Emmanuel Mambu, and I am from Sierra Leone. The topic, I really like it because it exposes a lot of things that people really don't know about Sierra Leone, and about the riches we really have as a country. Sierra Leone is very rich in mineral and everything you can think of, but we are ranked the poorest country in the world. So sometimes I really wonder how comes. But again, I will not wonder because I've spent all my life in Sierra Leone and I know what is actually happening in the country. So because of bad leadership, because of our thieves we elect in offices to rule us, so we find ourselves very much poor as a nation. Now, talking about Sierra Leone mineral, we actually have all sorts of minerals in Sierra Leone, and inclusive oil. We have gold, we have diamond, we have bauxite, we have rutile, we have iron ore. These are all in Sierra Leone. And then added to it, our soil is very much fertile. We have cocoa, we have coffee, we have palm oil, we have everything that you can think of. Being a rich soil, anything you plant on the soil of Sierra Leone, it will actually yield out very good. And our population, looking at the upon all the wealth, every mineral, all these minerals we have as a nation, our country is still poor. And then we do not even have that type of population that you think. We, as our population is around 8,420,000. I mean, 8 million people in Sierra Leone. So our population is too small for the type of mineral we have, and then we are still poor. Sierra Leone should actually be the Dubai of Africa. But like I was saying, our bad leadership is actually um, uh, destroying our nation. Um, if I could give an estimate of the actual population of Sierra Leone, it's 8,791,092. This is the actual population of Sierra Leone. And then you see upon this type of population, we have gold, we have diamond, we have silver, we have bauxite, we have rutile, but still our country is poor. We have good soil. We grow a lot of things. If you talk about cocoa, there is a lot of cocoa in Sierra Leone. Coffee is another. So with all these things, and we are still poor. 79% of graduates from last year are still unemployed in Sierra Leone. 79% of graduates are still unemployed in Sierra Leone. So why this high rate of unemployment? Why the high rate of unemployment? So Sierra Leone as a nation is actually going down because of bad leadership. Because of bad leadership. 3.60% of the Sierra Leonean population is unemployed. 3.60% is unemployed. So Sierra Leone is actually that is of 2022, and then now in 2023 we have 4.98%, which is unemployed. So the unemployment rate is just growing. Instead of it reduces, it's not going down, but rather going up. It's rather going up every day. So Sierra Leone is a country when you talk about all these mineral resources, and then it is not actually benefiting the population of Sierra Leone. The people are poor. So why the poor? Why the poverty? With all these things that we have, why the poverty? Why the unemployment rate? So when we and then politics is actually destroying the nation. We elect, or they select themselves, the thieves, into power. Because even if you vote as an ordinary Sierra Leonean, you do not have, your vote is not counting. I would say that us as Sierra Leoneans, we just vote for the sake of vote, but the voting does not count. Because when you vote, you do not even know how many people are registered, how many voters. The last elections, we really asked, there were a lot of vuvuzelas around that people were asking that let them give an estimate number of people who registered and how many people voted in the election. But the election commissioner never give it out. A lot of things, in fact, that even caused protesters to go out on the street, and then they were killed. You do not have the right to protest in Sierra Leone. You do not have the right to say what you want to say. You will say it, but after you've said it, what will come after it, it will be greater than your whole existence. So this is why the ordinary Sierra Leoneans are suffering. People are graduating from colleges, but they are not having the type of job that they are supposed to have. In fact, there is no job. You will see somebody is a graduate and he's being paid 1 million leones. What is 1 million leones in Sierra Leone? And then a bag of rice is around 800. So if you are being paid 1 million and then you buy a bag of rice of 800, how much is left in your hand? It's 200. You have medical. You have to pay your rent. You have to pay transport to go to work. So 200 is actually like a week. It's money that you just use for a week. You also have to buy data. So people are actually looking. There is actually, when I'm talking about it, I feel so bad that a country like that you boast of all these minerals, and then these minerals you are not enjoying nothing out of it. You don't even feel that you are living in such a country wherein the rich is becoming richer every day and the poor is becoming poorer every day. No matter the type of education you have, no matter the type of knowledge you will have, you become poorer every day, and the rich is becoming richer every day, because every day they steal government.
Wow, I'm thinking we've lost our comrade Emmanuel Mambu from Sierra Leone.
Pick it up from there, Nana.
Yeah, I can't say I was really enjoying, but I also felt emotional as my comrade Mambu was saying. And it is as if all African countries are supposed to be like that, because it's the same old story here in Ghana. We have many graduates with no work to do. So people have turned to internet fraud, scamming. Half of my classmates are all pastors. They are all men of God, because it is the only avenue you can create employment for yourself. And my comrade call it pastorpreneur. So if you want to do something, start a church business. And it is not our fault. It is the fault. And our comrade is back. Our comrade is back. So continue from there, bro. Comrade Mambu.
Like I was saying, a country.
Nana, you have a question here. You have a question from Danny Kruger in South Africa. Danny asks you, how is corruption in Sierra Leone?
Corruption in Sierra Leone is very high. It's very high. In fact, how will I say? Corruption was born in Sierra Leone and distributed all over the world. The father of corruption, the father of corruption is from Sierra Leone. So if you talk about, so you just imagine where was corruption born in Sierra Leone? Because looking at our population at 8.421 million with gold, diamond, bauxite, rutile, everything you can think of, with a very good soil, and then we are the poorest. So I would say corruption was born in Sierra Leone, and then it
Let me
started
help
moving
you.
to
Let
countries.
me help you. You may be right. According to Afrobarometer research, Afrobarometer research on world rankings on corruption, you can check it. Afrobarometer research on corruption worldwide, world ranking. Sierra Leone wins the trophy and it comes third among the most corrupt countries in the world. The resource is Afrobarometer research worldwide. Ranks Sierra Leone third among the most corrupt countries in the world. It's also very, very shocking to me finding this revelation. Now you can imagine you have 8 million people. Think about it. I'm answering the question of Dean Kruger in South Africa. You have 8 million people in Sierra Leone, but half of these guys are unemployed, and 80% of these guys live below the poverty line. The causes are clear in Sierra Leone. The causes are corruption. And how? The politicians in Sierra Leone basically are citizens in these other countries. The countries in charge of minerals in Sierra Leone are foreign countries. I can mention for you the countries where these foreign companies come from, and I also have the names of the companies that own minerals in Sierra Leone. They come, siphon everything in full support of the politicians. Mark that. Because Nanip is going to say, oh, these foreigners are taking our resources. No, Nanip, no foreigner is taking resources of Nigerians. The reverse is true. Nigerian politicians are donating your resources to foreign companies through bogus syndicated agreements. Certain politicians are donating resources of Sierra Leone to companies from the UK, companies from Russia, companies from China, companies from Israel. I have their names. These are companies that actually are managing resources not only in one country or two, in much of Africa. Companies from the US, companies from Russia, they are managing resources in Africa. Then they turn around and rank us as the most poor countries. But why? Because we have these bogus politicians who donate these resources through syndicated agreements to these companies. Now, I was answering the question of Dean Kruger. In fact, Dean Kruger, South Africa is ranked amongst the number one highly unemployed country in Africa. South Africa now, let me go a bit to South Africa. South Africa is ranked as number one among the highly unemployed countries with population of unemployed people in Africa. South Africa comes number one. But why don't we see South Africa struggling in terms of the economy? Why? Despite the unemployment, at least some bit of sanity is seen in the way South Africa manages their affairs. That's the credit. And even when they have the highest number of unemployment in Africa, South Africa has the highest number of unemployment in Africa. But the government of South Africa, regardless of their weaknesses, they are trying to fight their bad policies. They are trying to fight corruption in South Africa. And thanks to the DeBoer and others, the Caucasians set a bit of a good background for South Africa. Like it or not, they gave them a foundation to manage the country. Now these guys have come in, things are getting a bit better and sometimes worse, but still the economy is not crumbling in South Africa. Why? The system they set in place helped to hold South Africa to stand, regardless of the highest level of unemployment in Africa. Now, just suppose it with Sierra Leone, 80 million people, the highly corrupt country, third on the global report of corruption in the world. Now, back to in the studio, I was trying to just pose the facts, give you here and there, you compare. I've told you what is ruining Africa's economies are foreign companies that own our economies, like it or not. I can give you names of companies in Nigeria that own your resources. I can give you companies in Ghana that own your resources because I've written a book on the economy in Africa. I've researched on all these companies and I know their directors and I know who actually supports them. But the bottom line is these companies are supported by our own parliaments in Africa. So Mambo in Sierra Leone, Nana in Ghana, Nandip in Nigeria, don't be surprised. Our own parliaments pass laws that favor these companies. Our own parliaments, for example, in Uganda, authorizes our president to sign private agreements with these so-called investors. You can imagine that in Uganda, Mamba, I should tell you this, we have agreements. Our country signed with Taro Oil, for example, that these agreements are not supposed to be seen by anyone in the public apart from a syndicate in the cabinet. I'm a lawyer, and basically I'm a specialization in commercial law. That's why I talk about these things. And I was asking, how come that we don't know even agreements about our minerals, about our wealth? We don't know as citizens. We don't know. The president in Uganda had it to the effect that there is always few selected people who basically know the agreements. And yesterday, the Minister of Finance came and said, forgive me. I made a mistake when I was signing the contract with the Chinese. Now our airport, national airport, we have only one in Uganda. The Chinese have taken over the national airport of Uganda. It's laughable. This is the stupid country I come from, a very hopeless country. The Chinese, Mambo, you are there. The Chinese, as I speak right now, have taken over our national airport. The agreement, none of us, even lawyers, even the commercial lawyers, none of us know the agreement. But the minister said, forgive me, I made the mistakes. Because they sit as a clique and they decide for the country. You get it? Now, going back to your countries we're discussing, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, your countries are better. But who owns your resources? Politicians. Who give them out to the investors? Politicians. Where is your president as I speak? The president of Sierra Leone as I speak. Where is he? Do you know the country where he stays? Ma'am, do you know the country where your president stays? Does he stay in Sierra Leone? I'm
No,
asking you a question.
he's always in London.
Do you know where his wife stays?
Right now, no.
Because I research your countries. Your country's presidents basically don't even stay in your countries. They stay in Europe. They stay in the US. They have houses in Europe. They have
Yes.
investments in Europe. But there are presidents in Africa. Your ministers have investments in Europe, but you have ministers in Africa. Ministers who don't even stay there. Their children don't even study in your countries.
No,
Now tell
yes,
me,
yes.
now tell me, when do they love your countries? When their children don't even study in your countries? When their wives actually have houses and businesses in Europe? And then you think you're going to develop when they have no love for your country. Forget it. I want to take it back to Nana. Nana, give us your analysis. May I have given you a whole picture in summary about Africa and these countries.
I was trying to give an example about agreement.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
when you talk about, yes, when you talk about, in fact, this is what they used to fight us. The moment you want to say something, they will say it was approved by parliament. So don't even try
Mm,
it. It was approved by law. Parliament
mm.
approved it. Who are these parliament? These parliamentarians that they select themselves and go into parliament, they are being bribed with money. And when they bribe them, they just go and agree on some stupid laws. Let me give you an example. The actual village where I came from, okay, it's a town where I came from. It has the largest palm nut farm, the largest palm nut farm in Sierra Leone. And the company working there is Gold Tree Company. They produce palm oil and then they export it. One of the things Gold Tree do is they don't employ people around the community. Whether even if you are qualified or overqualified, they will not employ you because they do not want you to go into the company and then see what they are doing. They came in the name of palm tree or want to produce palm oil. But what they do mining. They use the land to do mining. So they do not want the citizen of that land or that community to know what they are doing. Because what they came for is not what they are doing. They found out that there is gold, there's diamond in that particular land. So they are using that one to mine gold and diamond. So you, if they find out that you are from that community, they will not employ you. And the people have raised issues about this, but they will never listen. We've made an agreement. It is from the parliament. Parliament approved it. So this is what actually is creating this unemployment in Israel. They will not employ you. They will work in your land. They will seize this land from you, and then they will not employ you. Because if they employ you, you have to go and see what they are doing, and then you have to talk about it. So since they do not want you to talk about it, they will not employ you. So this is what I was trying to say.
Let us go to Nigeria.
Yes, thank you, Comrade Kato, Nana Amabu. Very happy to have the Kato on the gang bank online. Yes, as I was saying initially, given the background of how Nigeria came to be and how our economy has been structured before now, you see, what we are facing in Nigeria here is a time bomb. What Mahmoud is talking about is not even half of what is going on here in this country called Nigeria. You know, we have millions of youth every year graduated from colleges. Now, let me tell you something. Last week, that is 1 week and 4 days ago, I employed a staff. He finished from a college. He cannot spell a bucket. He cannot write what is bucket. The one you use to fetch water. He cannot spell pillow because I asked him to write down what he needs in his room. He cannot be able to spell net. He cannot be able to spell torchlight. Now, you can see the crop of youth that we are graduated from colleges and are looking for job. How do you think any sane person can be able to, employ such people, if not from agricultural setting? Because without education, you can be able to told on what to do in agriculture. Then you can follow suit and you can be able to do what you're supposed to do. But if this particular staff look for a job in maybe in government parastatal and he maybe has somebody and is employed, do you know the kind of mess that will be caused? Probably he will be paying salary without producing or without contributing to the society. Now we are talking about economy of Nigeria. You see, politicians in this country has caused this country a lot of damages and setback. Why? Because Many, let's start from 2010, when the then president, Goodluck Jonathan, as his minister, we call her Tizani Alison Madukwe, to help to run the petroleum ministry. That is, we call it NNPC. Now it's called NNPCL. This woman steal over 2.6 billion US dollars. Do you know how much that money can change the economy of this country, Nigeria? And now she's in the UK. She's been tried, arrested over there. She's been tried. If Brian can be able to show us a picture, Desani Wadwikwe, she's a thief, she's a crook, she's a criminal. I'm saying on a live TV, on a live show, on a live program. Brian, show us a picture before I continue with other crooks and criminals that run down this economy of this country. They are all politicians. They are all politicians. What are we talking about? Eh? Look at her. This woman, let me tell you something about her. She have a bra made of gold. Bra, that is, they put it on her breast, made of gold. That's it, yes. And her undies, that is pants, is also made of what? Gold. That's how wicked this woman is. She run down the future of our people. She run the future of our youth. She cripple our economy because she's a minister of petroleum. Still, billions of US dollars. Not only her, we have other people also. Like the former PENCOM director, they call him Abdurrashid. Look for the picture of the Abdurrashid, Brian. This Abdurrashid, I've been hearing about him, about his still. He has been jailed here in Abuja. I was lucky when I went to visit our comrade Mubarak in prison. No, this one is let me talk about this one. This one also is a thief. Bring him back. Yes, his name is Malami. He's a former Attorney General of and Minister of Justice of Nigeria. There are three of them. They stole over 75 billion US dollars. 75 US dollars. Comrade Kato can bear me witness for this. And it's kind of a whistleblower's research. This man, and is negotiating with his foreign allies so that they can be able to pay the government of Nigeria. Go back. So that they can be able to pay the government of Nigeria 25 billion US dollars so that they can share the remaining 50 billion US dollars within themselves. This very one that you are seeing, so they call it Mama Mohammed, is together with Malami stole 75 billion US dollars. Do you know this $1 billion? Do you know what it will change the economy of Nigeria? But three people stole this money and they are negotiating instead of them to be in jail or firing squad should be killed. They are crooks, they are criminals, they are
Yes, Nandip, we are losing him right there. We can go back to the studios. Brian, show us those maps of Nigeria and Sierra Leone. I'll be able to explain them. Brian, now show us please those maps of Nigeria and Sierra Leone, just in a minute or two or three, I'll be able to show people these countries' maps and, of course, the wealth distribution in these countries. Let us look at the maps of Nigeria and Sierra Leone in terms of resource distribution. I want you to see how endowed these countries are. Now, this is the map of Africa. When you look at it, when you zoom it a bit, you are going to see all the countries in Africa, 52 plus countries in Africa. You can see exactly where Sierra Leone is and where, of course, Nigeria is. You can see clearly that Nigeria is bordered by Cameroon. Of course, there is Chad, Niger, and there is, of course, Benin, and of course, Togo, right there. And then you can see where else Sierra Leone is. Give us another map, please. We're talking about Africa and the map. So look at Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is right there. It's not so big a country, but a country well placed. A country well placed. Sierra Leone is so blessed because they have the Atlantic Ocean, meaning transportation is much easier to connect with the water. And of course, Nigeria too has the advantage of the waters there. Right there, Sierra Leone, as you can see, a country in green, white, and blue, very resource endowed. Give us more photos, please. Time is not our best ally. A focus point of Sierra Leone. These are focus points of Sierra Leone. These areas marked red are the areas where you find minerals in Sierra Leone. Now you can see the country is littered with minerals, gold, diamonds, and so many other minerals. Then Brian, give us more of those photos. Now, let me show you Nigeria. Nigeria is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of minerals. I'll repeat that. Nigeria, one of the richest countries in the world in terms of minerals. I told you, go and look at the global mineral export and countries in the world. You'll see how ranked Nigeria is in terms of supplying oil to the world. The question is, why is Nigeria not a Qatar? Take us back in the last map. Why is Nigeria not a Qatar? Why is Nigeria not a Saudi Arabia when they have all the resources? Look at the resources in Nigeria: iron ore, gold, diamond, chromite, uranium, copper, gemstone, and all others. There are so many. Look at Nigeria littered with all these resources. But mark you, over 60% of the people in Nigeria cannot earn $1 a day. And unemployment among the graduates is 23 million people. But look at all these minerals. The question is, who takes these minerals? Where do they go? Why don't they benefit the people of the land? Give us the next map, please. I want to show you West African vegetation. Now, if you're in West Africa, look how endowed your countries are in terms of vegetation. These countries, like the rest of Africa, are fertile. You can do agriculture in Nigeria and Sierra Leone. Almost everything comes back. The question is, why do you lack food when you have all these best soils in the world? Why do you lack food? Vegetation is right there. The fertile soil, which can basically give us almost everything, is in Africa, is in West Africa. The question is, why are our people poor? Look at the mini map of Nigeria. Okari Bar, Kontangora, Wawa, Bida, Sapel, all these areas, when you look at them, these are mineral rich areas of Nigeria. But the question, at the end of the day, we ask ourselves, why is this country poor? Look at Sierra Leone. Look at the mineral distribution in Sierra Leone. The country is a bit small, but the entire country is littered with minerals. Minerals, 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 gold, diamonds, all these minerals are in Sierra Leone. But still, 80% of people in Sierra Leone can't earn $1 a day. Interesting. They cannot earn $1 a day. Forget about the CPSR measurement of unemployment. They're going to say 3.6. You don't understand it. Always put it in population. If you want to understand employment, always put it in terms of population. Forget about the CPA analysis of population unemployment. Go in terms of population, in terms of million. That's when we understand the dangers of unemployment. Forget about IMF and giving you their figures. Always ask for the population vis-a-vis those who are employed and those which are not employed. You'll be able to understand figures on employment clearly. Mambo was quoting figures which are given by IMF, which actually false, which are also misleading. They told you 3.4%. That is misleading. Always, if you want to understand population and employment, ask in terms of million people. You will know how big the problem is. Now, here I'm speaking as someone who went to the School of Economics. I'm trying to help you understand that when you look at World Bank and IMF, when they say 3 point this, always ask how do you measure the 3 point this when you're talking about employment? Why don't we talk about Nigeria as having over 250 million people and half of that unemployed? So people understand it much better that way than measuring it against the GDP, DNP. That one is confusing. Now, this is Humans TV Africa, and of course, I want to encourage you to please subscribe to Humans TV Africa, and this is where you find all these important discussions here. Now, we're going to be concluding. My team is in the studio. I'll start with Nana. Nana, can you please give us your parting shot for today as we say bye-bye?
Thank you, Comrade Kato, and I'm really, really sad hearing all these stories over and over again. And I think what we have to do as the youth, as Africans, and as Pan Africanists is the youth must come together and submit our individual sovereignty, the sovereignty, the respect, the love we have for our various country. We have to put all of them aside and come together as one people, as one Africa, as Professor Lumumba usually say. I think it is one of the reasons these politicians, our so-called leaders, these scammers, take us for granted, because they know at the end of the day they have a gang, a unit, they have the military to do their dirty works for them, they have the police to do their dirty work for them, and they will lord over us, steal our resources, and spend give our money to the Chinese, to the Europeans, to the Americans. So it is up to the youth of Africa. Now look, Africa, we don't have boundaries, we don't have wars. Let's submit our sovereignty and come together as a united force. I think if we are able to do that, we will see a clearer picture. We will see a very clear picture that the future of the African is in our own hands. I don't believe in Ghana. I don't believe in Sierra Leone. I don't believe in Nigeria, because all these things that are happening is war. It's declaration of war on the indigents, on us. Poverty is war, and they want us to be poverty stricken, so that they are just plucking our feathers. They don't want us to fly away. So I believe if we submit our sovereignty, if the youth of Ghana decide, or the youth of Sierra Leone or Nigeria decide that we are no more going to respect Nigeria as a country, we want to be ruled as an African, and Africa as a one country, as the Americans have done theirs, as like how the Chinese have done theirs. Africa must also, and if we are not able to do that, these colonizers, these thieves, they call themselves politicians, are going to have sex in with us. They are going to fuck us in our assholes forever and ever. Excuse me, but that's the fact of the day. Thank you, Comrade Kato. Comrade Kato, your mic is mute. Your microphone is
Yeah, that
mute.
was the thank you. Part of the discipline, I normally mute myself. Dennis, Brian, may you please give us that question from Danny Kruger? Danny Kruger was asking about solutions, What is the solution to inequality, Kato? Democratic socialism? Let us talk about solutions. Yes, then going forward, you shall always be talking about solutions. Today we are making analysis. To understand this, to go to a solution, you must understand the problem. I always want us to fight the problem. Inequality is everywhere in the world. The question is, why is inequality so rampant in Africa? Look at a rich country like South Africa. South Africa is so rich. One day I'm coming here to analyze South Africa for you as a country profile and you see how blessed South Africa is. But mark you, South Africa is the number one ranked country in Africa with the highest unemployment rate. Number two, it has so many landless people. But in terms of resources, South Africa is way higher than so many countries in Europe. So rich. So the question is, why the inequality? Then Kuga is asking that question, why the inequality? So before you go to the solution, we must understand this problem. We must understand the cause of the problem as people living in Africa. Because look, there is inequality in Europe. But why is it that in Europe they can manage it? Why is it that in Europe they can manage it? Why is it that in many Schengen countries, Norway, Finland, Iceland, Denmark, Netherlands, the gap between the poor and the rich is so low? Are these countries having angels that are managing these countries? To me, I always say it goes back to us, a people in Africa. Let me give you this analysis. Go and Google today, 2014, the most richest countries by GNP, by GDP, by PPP. PPP means purchasing power parity. PPP, purchasing power parity, GDP, and GNP. The three most richest countries in Africa as we speak today are number one, Mauritius. Number two, Libya. Number three is Botswana. Doesn't it surprise you that despite the war in Libya, NATO destroying our African country, NATO led by the French to destroy our country in Libya, to root our country in Libya, still Libya is ranked number two among the most richest countries in Africa. Despite the war, despite the confusion, the people there are generally well off than countries like Sierra Leone, which are relatively peaceful, which NATO hasn't bombed. Now, what if NATO comes and bombs you? How will you behave in Sierra Leone? Libya
Everybody
today is
would.
doing better. Libya, I'm giving you stat. You can always Google it. Libya, Mauritius, and Botswana, richest countries as I speak in Africa in terms of GDP, GNP, and PPP, purchased power parity. Now, if this country, look at Botswana. How is Botswana managed? I always ask that question to people. Go and find out the methodology of leadership in Botswana. Look at Mauritius, small country, small population. How is Mauritius managed? It goes back to leadership. So, then to answer that question, always we must understand what is our problem. I told you the country in which you are, South Africa, is very corrupt, ranked among the first 10, has the highest unemployment in Africa. You get it? But also has so many landless people. Therefore, there is inequality in South Africa. So before we understand, before we get the solutions, we must understand the problem. Not so. Now, going forward, in all our programs, we normally give solutions. Then Kruger was asking, social democrats, yes, partly the solution. It goes back to leadership. Social democrats, like guys running Germany, for example, social democrats, Like guys running most of these Schengen countries, look what their policies. You go and research. Then Kruger was talking about social democrats. I am a lover of social democrats, and I'm giving examples where social democrats are leading. Many of these Schengen countries have social democratic policies. In other words, policies that look at the poor as a priority. You get it? I told you, I always say, if you told me which country I'd like to go to, I wouldn't say USA. Never. I wouldn't even say so many countries that I find myself in because they don't even impress me. They don't have policies. They don't have systems that can support the poor effectively. Yet small countries like Iceland have these policies. Small countries like Finland have these policies. Denmark has these policies that actually support the poor. You find that the gap between the poor and the rich in Norway, in Denmark, is so low. You don't see people that are so rich. You get it? And you don't see people that are so poor. People are almost there. Not so, the gap between the poor and the rich is not so big. But you go to the US, you'll be surprised. The first time I went there, I saw people on the streets of Washington. I saw people sleeping in shanty houses in the district of Washington. And I was like, is this the US? They give us a rosy picture on the media because US knows that exactly. They will always mark themselves as the giants. But I'm telling you, the number of people in that country is so alarming. Is so alarming. The gap between the poor and the rich in the US is so alarming. But we'll never give you those figures. No, they want to be known as the superpower. Wait, when you compare the living standard of these guys right there and the guys living in China and guys living, say, in Singapore, they are much better than these guys. But will they tell you that? No. So it goes back to me as a solution. It goes back to leadership. Then we're talking about social democrats. Go and research it. How do democratically social democrats manage their countries? They are better. Go research them. They are better. They have better policies. The gap between the poor and the rich is so minimal. Why? Because they fight corruption. Find out if Norway has this kind of corruption. Denmark, Iceland, Norway, Netherlands. Now, just oppose it with Africa. We are the mothers of corruption, as Sierra Leone was talking about, as Mambo was saying. Now, who do you blame for your corruption? Us. That's why I always fight with Nandip. I said, Nandip, before you blame the Caucasians and everyone else, blame your greedy, brutal, barbaric politicians in Nigeria. Those are the problem. Before you look at foreign companies, the question is who allows them to operate in your countries? Who allows them? Do they get crushed? Do they force their entry? No. They have backdoor agreements. The parliament supports them. Therefore, who do you blame? Who do you blame for your misery? We start by blaming ourselves and say, where did we go wrong? Until we understand where we went wrong as a people in Africa, we shall not fix Africa. Until we understand where our problem is. To me, we will never fix Africa until we accept that we have a problem. And we must fight it. How did China fight corruption? Go and ask yourself how China fought corruption. Brutal ways. How has Kagame of Rwanda managed to fight corruption in Rwanda? Go and ask yourself, is there much corruption in Rwanda as it is in Uganda? I'm asking you, Ugandans watching me, and I'm asking you, Rwandese watching me. Compare two countries. One, a far richer country than another. Uganda is much richer than Rwanda. Rwanda is doing far better than Uganda. Corruption, bad leadership. So I want to conclude on this note. I'm, of course, inviting Mambo. Mambo, please close this show by giving us your analysis in 2 words. And of course, you are going to close it by your way forward. Over to you.
Okay, like you are saying, corruption. Let me just say this, even though I have a program tomorrow about it. The clerk of parliament in Sierra Leone, Parantarawali, employed his wife to work in parliament with no due process, and she was paid 1,500 a month for 10 months. She never stepped even a day into her office. That is just to tell you how corrupt Sierra Leone is. She was employed by the clerk of parliament, and her name was there to work in parliament, and she was collecting salary every end of month, and her salary is 1,500 US dollars, and she never stepped a feet even for a day. So what type of, that is just to let you know how corrupt is that country. And even when the thing is being leaked out, and the Anti-Corruption Commission is working on it, the so-called Anti-Corruption Commission is working on it, you cannot even hear about it again because the case is now dead. It has been solved. Look at how corrupt that is. So Sierra Leone is actually, like you said, we the Sierra Leoneans, our leadership, our so-called leaders, they are thieves, and they do not investigate themselves because everybody is just, everybody is looking for where to just collect what is available. So you cannot investigate me as a anti-corruption commissioner because you as a commissioner, you also have where you are also getting from. The president is also having the first lady, so-called first lady. So everybody is just busy taking from wherever they want to take. How could you as a clerk of parliament employ your wife, and then the wife, she never go to work, and then you pay her every month? Her name is running every month 1,500, and then she also received fuel for her vehicle. She has an official vehicle. All these are from the government, and she's not working. She's just at home. And when these issues come up, you don't see anything. They just die down naturally because everybody know everybody is a thief. If everybody is a rat, who is gonna? A rat cannot investigate another rat. They are all rats, stealing things from one place to another. So I will want to end here. And mind you, this is Humanist TV Africa, and the program is Kato and the Gang. We want. I don't know if Nandip wants to say anything because I want to close the show. Nandip, can I give you a
Continue. No, just close the show. We'll continue tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow I have this show. I'll be talking about our clerk of parliament, the type of corruption he has, what he has done by employing his wife, and the wife never even stepped a feet, even for a day in parliament, and she was receiving 1,500 US dollars every month. And she has an official vehicle, she has fuel, she received everything that she was supposed to have, but she never goes to work. And now the thing is out, but nobody's talking about it. It has just died down. But I will be talking about it here at Humanist TV Africa, so that they will know that this is what is happening in Sierra Leone, because they want to hide it. Everybody is a thief. Everybody is rat. So, like, I want to say thank you to everybody. Our senior
Comrade Mabu.
Yes.
Yes. Not to cut you, but I want to suggest we have to have a day for Nigeria, because Nigeria is so big and corrupt that I didn't feel it. So just let's use one day to for Nigeria too, so that we will delve into it proper.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Tomorrow, let us have episode 2 of the same topic.
Okay.
Yes,
that's
fine.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So I will just use that opportunity to talk more on Paran's issue, and also largely Sierra Leone as a whole, because the corruption is by level. The thieves are by level. They have level 1, level 2, and level 3. But anyway, we want to say thank you to our viewers today. Continue to subscribe, like, and share for Humanist TV Africa. I end here. My name is Emmanuel Mambu.
Thank you. See you in the next one.